Hi, welcome. I'm Marcelo Vaquero Alvarez, and this is Half-Life Crisis. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the first video that I gotten a chance to film pretty much in a very, very long time. And to be honest, it's because I've been gone. I've been gone for a while, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that why. But hopefully, in the meantime, you get a chance to visit my website, www.halflifecrisis.com, where I have written a bunch of articles about all kinds of interesting things that I find interesting in exuberant detail. That's kind of like what I like to do. I like to rant a lot, and that's why I created Half Life Crisis, so I can rant a lot. And there's a lot that I find interesting, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But in any case, I haven't been able to actually make a video for a very, very long time, but it's because I'm in the US Navy. For anybody who was not actually aware, I've been active duty Navy for about 20 years, and I'm going to be retiring in the next few months. So that means that finally I'm actually going to be having some time. So that's a big plus because it's been a while. For anybody who's been in uniform, no matter what your rank, you have an impact in the greater scheme of things when you're a military person. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that just for a moment before we move into the topic. But in any case, as I say, I haven't been able to sit down and make a video for a very, very long time. But I do have a lot of footage, and I have pictures, and I have, goodness, I have a lot of fun stuff, that I just don't have physically the time to put all that together. So I'm intending to do that as I am moving out from active duty into my retirement phase and just do what I want to do, which is live life to the fullest, just like I have over there in Half Life Crisis, because life is what we make of it. So, kind of like the topic for today, and what I really wanted to talk about is that I'm very excited. One of the things that I got to do while I was gone away, I wrote several manuscripts, and finally I'm able to put them out into the world. So, hopefully, somebody's also going to be able to benefit from all the craziness that is inside my head. So, one thing is actually writing a book is a whole other thing, actually putting it out to the world. And I've been going through these growing pains, and one of the topics that I wanted to write about is what is right now in my hands here. So this is my debut book, Authoritarianism and Propaganda, the Puppet Master Tools. It's meant to be a short read. Yep, see, there you go. That's the artwork that my wife helped me out, and that's me right there on board the USS Cole when I was gone away. So, anyways, there's a lot that I want to talk about in this book, but I'm not going to be giving you here forever. But just let me know if you want me to expand in a future video. I'll be more than happy to do so. But anyway, Authoritarianism and Propaganda, the Puppet Master Tools. So, when is this book going to be out? Let me do a little bit of housekeeping first. The ebook is available as of the 13th of November 2023. And there's a reason why I chose that date, and it's because it's my daughter's birthday. And the paperback copy is going to be out on the 28th of December 2023. So right now, if you're seeing this thing before those dates, it's already available for pre-order pretty much anywhere that you can buy a book. So we're talking about Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Book Baby, Bookshop, and Goodreads and Apple Books, and goodness knows where else. Okay, so I put all the links down below so you can check them out. Please, please help me to spread this message, and that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about. Have you seen the world going unhinged and you find it disturbing? I do, and I have, and it's very disturbing. That's one of the many reasons why I wrote this book, and I'm going to be listing a few of those. I did put in my website, and I'm putting in some of our social media outlets. Why is it that I wrote the book and some behind the scenes and whatnot? But again, as I said, I'll be happy to go in detail if you guys have any questions. Some of you might be seeing, just like I was doing, well, how I was feeling rather, that it seems that only a very minority or a small group of people in the great scheme of things actually seem to be realizing that, and everybody else just, okay, life as usual, but they're not understanding how crazy the world is going. That I found very, very disturbing, and I wanted to shed some light into that. So, you have probably heard that history tends to repeat itself. Well, it is repeating, and it has been repeating a few times. And now we have this paradox that there's untold amounts of information, yet we don't really have an opportunity to understand what's right and what is BS. Does that make sense? So, a lot of falsehoods and a lot of truths, but a lot of people they give the same credence to something that is not true, especially things that are demonstrably untrue. And that's what I find most disturbing of all. Uh, Most disturbing of all, sorry. I do have an accent, probably notice. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. Okay, he's not going to get better. Actually, it's probably going to get worse as I keep talking. But anyway, so this willful ignorance is tacit consent for somebody else to take over your life without your input. Let me say that again. Willful ignorance is tacit consent for somebody to take over your life without you having any say on how your life is going to go. Does that make sense? I've been seeing that more and more. There's a lot of people I can actually tell you that might have even some platform or a position of prominence. And if you ask them about some of the geopolitical situations that are going on in the world, but they wouldn't even able to explain to you why those are important. Because a lot of people they don't know and they don't care to know. Let me say that nothing has surprised me in the last several years. What do I mean by that? Okay, so my job is actually analysis. That's what I do. I read a whole bunch of stuff and I put it together, and somebody hopefully is going to be making a decision based on that. In other words, I separate all the good stuff from the BS, and then somebody's going to be doing something with that, hopefully making a good decision. Now, the situation is that my analysis tends to be spot on. Everything that you get to see is not necessarily, just that you need to have too much of a vantage point to actually see certain things. A lot of that information is freely available. It just takes a lot of intellectual honesty and critical thinking to actually make sure that some of that information that is out there actually pertains to you and is not just something that it's supposed to be a distractor. Of course, a lot of those distractors they do exist, and I speak about that in my book, among other things. And the reason why I was writing that is because a lot of the geopolitical situation that was going on in the world, and I wanted to make it available to everyday people in a manner that is going to be hopefully palatable for them. My writing style is a little bit more down to earth. I'm going to be putting a lot of sarcasm there, but I like to speak in a certain manner that hopefully is going to resonate. What do I mean by that? Okay. So I want to bring critical thinking paired with intellectual honesty. So what does that mean? Okay, so a person can have critical thinking and still be an idiot. There's a lot of people who are pretty much way off the mark, but they think that they're spot on in whatever misconception that they have. Because as I was saying before, a lot of the BS has been getting the same credence about actual facts. A fact needs to be logical, measurable, and demonstrable. Otherwise, it's conjecture. A lot of people they just have these opinions which are actually conjecture, but they are giving these same credence as facts, and that is problematic because when you have a lot of critical thinking but you don't have intellectual honesty, then you just have cynicism. So a lot of people who tend to be extremely wrong, they tend to be extremely very assertive about how they believe they're correct. And that is the fact is that unfortunately a lot of people who are actually incorrect is not really their fault. The reason why it's not their fault, it's because the way that the situation has been framed onto them makes it counterintuitive for them to see it from a different perspective. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's why intellectual honesty needs to be paired up always with critical thinking. So critical thinking without intellectual honesty is going to make you a useful fool. Somebody's going to be able to exploit you. An authoritarian is going to be moving rhetoric into action. How long is it going to be taking? Well, it depends on the person. If a person has proclivity to go to a certain level of action because of certain biases that are exploitable, maybe very quickly. Other times, it might actually take generations. But there's always something that is behind the scenes, and that's why I'm actually going to be talking in this book. Actually, that's what I was writing about, because we can measure these things. We've seen it before. The reason is because an authoritarian is only as powerful as their followers. Fortunately, there's a lot of authoritarian wannabe over there. That's what I call people that they try to be an authoritarian, but fortunately, they're not really good at it. So they just kind of become these crazy people just getting some sort of platforms, speaking and yelling platitudes to the world, and then somehow, just becoming a footnote in history. But some other ones, they get a chance to galvanize this power. I actually have here in chapter 6, I talk about several authoritarians that some of you might or might have not heard, like, for example, Mao Zedong, Hitler, Mussolini, among others, but I also speak about some other ones that you might or might not have heard, maybe Peron or Pinochet, and some of the other guys. And what I wanted to do is actually put the geopolitical situation around those times and how was the political climate and the populace and how they were able to raise into power. And you're going to be seeing some of those same techniques happening even today. And again, that's one of the reasons why I actually have cited some of those guys over here. An authoritarian does not like people who like critical thinking and intellectual honesty. They will be very, 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 very happy if a person think that they're the smartest person in the room when they're not, because they're exploitable. And remember what I said, it is meant to bring rhetoric into action. A lot of times, an authoritarian is just going to give you a very redacted version of the events. In other words, they're going to be giving you these data points. Okay, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and they only give you 1, 3, and maybe a little bit of 6, and you don't really get to understand the entire context. Then your decision making with that 1 and the 3 or whatever points that they gave you are going to be making perfect sense to you because you haven't actually heard the full story. That's why it's very important to have this intellectual honesty, because now you're actually going to be able to see, okay, what is those other points? Even if you don't agree necessarily with those points, but at least you're going to be able to factor them in your decision making. And then you're going to be able to figure out if somehow you've been bamboozled by an authoritarian or a propagandist. And why I'm actually bringing that up is because the authoritarians are going to try to discredit some people when they make mistakes. But guess what? We all make mistakes. Every last one of us. Nobody's perfect. Actually, thinking that you would be perfect or you can make a perfect plan, that is, by definition, is already flawed, because there's no such thing as perfection. So we have to factor a little bit of a margin of error. And I figure, there's a lot of crazy people out there that have a platform, and goodness, they say all kinds of weird stuff and there's people listening to them. So that was a risk I was willing to take. Again, I don't know how far my words are going to be traveling, but whatever is going to be the case, I wanted to make sure that I was able to provide you with a tool that you don't necessarily just need to read it one time. It is meant to be a short read. I didn't want to make a very, very long book. And there's some strategically added redundancy just so you don't have to be going back, to some chapters, so it's actually supposed to help you out in the way that it's written. But I did not want to wait too much, because I already have waited long enough and things have been just getting worse and worse. So as I said, that was a risk that I was willing to take. But everything that I write is because I want to entice that critical thinking and intellectual honesty. So I would like to ask your help for this part. And please help me spread this message far and wide, like everywhere. And the reason is because authoritarianism is creeping around the world. And it's not going to get any better unless we understand what the process is. What does that mean? Okay, so we all have a chance to learn something new every day. But somebody else could be implanting certain narratives that are contrary to your best interest. That's why I wrote this, because I want you to see how that actually works. There's millions, if not billions, of combinations of how they can actually work it out, and how they can actually bamboozle people. It is a short read for a reason, so you can read it and then put it away for a little while and then read it again and maybe try to look for it as a point of reference, especially whenever you might have a proclivity to actually fall into either side of the echo chamber. Okay, so this is not about left or right. An authoritarian does not give a crap about if you lean to the right or to the left. That is irrelevant. They just want to know how willing are you to do whatever it is that they want you to do. There's been authoritarians from the left side and to the right side, and even when an authoritarian on the right got kicked out by an authoritarian on the left, they switch authoritarians from one side or the other. So that could happen. But what actually always stopped an authoritarian was the people. Once they realize what was going on, and that's what this book is all about. So let me wrap it up by saying that I am talking a little bit more about this book in my different social medias. If you want to be seeing more about that, and of course on my website, and I'll continue adding this information. And it's not because I'm skipping a track, as I say, it's because nothing that has happened has surprised me, and I'm very disturbed about that, because I wish I was wrong, but I'm not. That's why I decided to write. I also want to give credit to my wife Alicia. So she is the one who created the back cover artwork, and my daughter Samantha, she did that little part of the world and whatnot over there, and that's her artwork, and that's me right there, by the way. So in the aft portion of the world famous USS Cole, that's the same ship that got bombed by violent extremists in Yemen in October 2000. So it's very humbling to actually write these pages in this historical ship, and that's one of the reasons why I was also probably more hyper aware about all this situation. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please share it with everybody else. Like, subscribe, help me spread this message. And if you want to get the book, again, I put all the links down below, so you can actually see it when you search for that in any platform you just happen to visit. Just please make sure that you put like that, Authoritarianism and Propaganda, the Puppet Master Tools. I'm just going to put this thing all together and try to send it out to the world as soon as possible. Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Bye.